I know the feeling.
Yes, Biegler. Okay, so we'll go quiet here. Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's RD to RD live show. I've been looking forward to this episode for a while. Christa Biegler will be joining us, and we're going to talk about creating a successful sales funnel, and more specifically, talking about how to incorporate a webinar. And I think what you'll find really helpful in our conversation is really demystifying what is a sales funnel, what are the pieces that work together, should I do a webinar, what about paid advertising? So what Christa's going to do is kind of lift the hood on what she built for her business and give some tips and insight into what she learned along the way. So a little housekeeping before we jump in. This is a live Q&A, so we are taking your questions. So if you have something that's burning, go ahead and drop it in now. I'll keep an eye on those throughout the show. And if I know it's something we're going to tackle, I will, kind of hold off, but make sure you get your questions in early because we always run out of time. So make sure that you get those in as we go. So, Christa, would you just kick us off a little bit? We met at Fancy and you totally blew my mind at my marketplace table. Not only the pace, but the content of what you were telling me. I was like, whoa. Not only from a business angle, but that you really understood how to go from people hitting your website into really moving them along and getting them to, are you my ideal client? And how can I get you to move to working with me quicker? So for me, that's what I want to untangle today and talk about what you did and what's worked well. So tell us a little bit about yourself and the kind of work that you do.
Thanks, Megan. Thanks for letting me come on and share this. I want you to know, even if I know originally, I think Megan was talking about Facebook ads, and we're going to talk about general overall funnel. So we're going to talk about a little bit of everything, but the goal is for everyone to get something out of this, even if you don't want to be doing Facebook ads, which is totally fine. It's just like the pieces to understand like what's working. And if this piece isn't working, guess what? The rest of the stuff in the line isn't working. So anyway, that's that. So as Megan said, my name is Christa Biegler. I live in the middle of nowhere in South Dakota, and I have an online private practice and a podcast called The Less Stressed Life. And that was really just a synonym for anti-inflammation, because no one, and this will come up like back in the day when everyone was Facebook living, like kind of early on, I'd go on live and talk about inflammation, and the only people that showed up were the ones that knew something about it. That's kind of a bad sign, right? That's my market research right there. If you look at those metrics, like if only people, because the people commenting, right? Like half the people that are coming are people that know you. So at least early on. So, anyways, very good. Learned all that. I would say that my specialty is really digestive issues, skin issues, especially eczema, autoimmune, things like that. So that is largely what I do. I just kind of live in my little office here that you guys are I'm welcoming you into today.
Nice. So,
and by the way,
oh yeah,
sorry to interrupt you. By the way, my kids are out of school today, so like if you hear screaming, it's very normal.
It's real life.
Yeah, it's real life.
This is live, right? There's no do-overs. It's just take it as it comes.
No problem.
So let's talk about the term sales funnel. What is it, and what does it mean, and why should we bother to have a sales funnel?
Sure. Sales funnel just means like you're only going to be, you can think about it like this, and it is like, it doesn't sound super fun, right? But it's like, it's the process of how do you get someone you know or you don't know to be a client or a customer of yours in some way, right? So like identify the steps. Really, if you get anything out of this, you should know what those steps are for you, so you know where you're falling short. Like if you're not getting enough people at the end, then which piece is not working in the middle? So I'm going to share my screen a little bit, if that's okay, just because it might be more interesting than us looking at our faces, or people looking at our faces. Yes. I literally, like, full disclosure, wrote this like 5 minutes ago, maybe 3 minutes ago. So, I mean, this can be anything. So like people find you. So how are they finding you? That's one piece, right? So this is where people use health props or Facebook ads or whatever, right? People book or maybe they just like stumble upon you from Google or SEO, and then they book like my funnel is that people book a call. That's how, like, I don't necessarily put them on a landing page. I want them to go look through my website. I have it organized so it's hopefully simple enough. I think sometimes we overcomplicate the point of where like people might just get down a rabbit hole and like find so much other information where it's so nested. Really quick side note that I hope is interesting. I just got done redoing a friend and I just got done redoing our state dietetic association website, and we chose to be progressive and do long form on purpose instead of a bunch of nested pages, because people just want to scroll on their phone, right? So we did like less overall pages. We cut them from like 10 to 4. And so I have a similar thing where I just want people to kind of like have a long form. It's called actually the story brand, like Donald Miller made that popular, where like, people should get to know you looking down your page. Like, all right, cool. I see what you do at the front. Now what can I learn about you? And you continue to engage them and like pull at their heartstrings in different ways. So that's kind of the goal of my site. And I remember I made some site changes. Like it needs an update right now, but I remember I made some site changes last year. And I remember more people were booking calls, which told me like the changes I made were useful, right? So I changed that little piece like in between there. So you could even put a piece between there. It's really important to understand these little pieces along the way. So for me, I want people to book a call because I want to get to know them. And it's easier to talk through, like once you get good at this, it's easier to really convert someone to your services if they're a good fit and qualify them if you do this call thing properly, which is a whole nother science of itself, right? So that's just personally mine. People book a call. Then through that process, like I want to help them and then also let them know if what I have for them is the right fit. Now that's a good thing. Like if you have something that is worth a little bit of money, meaning like I wouldn't do this to sell someone a $200 consult, right? I would only do this if I was selling them a higher dollar package. So if you have a lower priced product, there's lower risk. Pretend, since this is the RD to RD marketplace where there's some lower cost products, let's pretend it's a lower cost product. You know, you don't have to do things like this. What's the sales funnel for that, right? If people find it, they trust you. That's a big piece, right? They trust you from one piece or the other. And then somehow you tell them how this thing answers their problem, right? And so then just on the page, you should be able to sell them. So if they're not converting from that, is it the text? So my point is like there's several pieces, and I could have put in several more pieces here, like the copy on my website is a little bit important. It doesn't have to be overcomplicated. Like what happens, you know, honestly, I've tweaked the call thing so many times. I used to have like a price listed at the top. And when I found out when I hid the price, more people booked. It wasn't like I was trying to hide the price. I actually put it in the text of the, of about the call. I took it out of the heading and put it in the text around the call. And for some reason that like helped. That's a little bit specific. Yeah. But I'm just sharing, like I pay a lot of attention to what works and what doesn't work, I guess. So you don't want to change too many things at once, right? Like if you have a sales funnel, you want to start with the simplest thing, right? So this is simple. People book a call. I sell my services. It's truly like the 3-step system. If you change too many things at once, you won't know what worked. So like that doesn't have to be something you overthink, but if you change like tons of stuff, it's like, how can you identify what went right or wrong, kind of?
So if we break that step, so if we break this down a little bit more, we've got this people find you, right? That in and of itself is, kind of a process of understanding, right? You mentioned things like SEO, you mentioned advertising, and then you mentioned here on the screen kind of a webinar and ad. So I don't know if you want to tackle some of these elements or... Well,
I think we wanted to talk about, I know a little bit like how I use a webinar as a certain piece. So let's identify a problem maybe I have. Sometimes I get people on the phone and they don't know enough about what I do. So it like takes longer to describe this and it's a little bit like tedious, not fun, right? Yeah. So I know a lot about the people I'm normally getting on a call. And so, and I need them to trust me because my goal with people is quality over quantity. And I'm looking for fewer people that I want to work for longer term to get better results. That's my approach, right? So, and if you are looking for volume, it's a little bit different. So in general, to encourage or to help people understand me more and to encourage, like if people find you and then something just, they're just not quite ready, like getting them from that stage of change of contemplation to like action, how do we help them do that? And that's where the rest of this work, and you said this before we got on air, Megan, it's so important. If a piece of your funnel doesn't work, don't blame the whole thing. Don't don't start throwing money at something if you can't do these things. If you can't do, and when I say money, like I have spent, like sometimes like my stomach would churn from what I spent on Facebook ads. And I mean, it was a profit, But my point is like, don't think that just because you see some shiny object where you can go spend money, that you need to go do that before you have the working parts of a funnel. And I know that's like a big thing for you too. So what I was trying to do was help people get to know me better. And I want them to get engaged and to really like me, right? So a webinar, and I was talking to Megan kind of off and before we got on this whole thing, you know, when you create something in your business, can you make it kind of multi-purpose? So like, it might seem like a bit of work to make a webinar. So what is a webinar really? It's just a way to increase KLC, right? Know, like, and trust. KLT,
Right.
sorry. Know, like, and trust. And when people know, like, and trust you, I love when someone gets on a call with me that watched my webinar that said, oh, I watched your webinar twice because I liked you. I have a really annoying thing at the beginning of my webinar that I like patched in there. And it's me bouncing on like the exercise ball. And I literally put in the heading, like, don't mind me. I'm just like bouncing on my exercise ball over here before I get started talking about the webinar. I left that in there on purpose because I want to turn off people that don't like that, because we're not going to enjoy working together, you know, because I'm kind of a goofball, right? And so in like a very serious way. And so anyway, so a webinar has its own.
So I think I want to make sure that this is clicking for the people tuning in, that when people are, you know, they're going to find you, right? But it doesn't, 100% of the people that find you aren't going to be a good fit to work with you. Okay. Right. So a lot of times, you know, we use an onboarding email sequence, and a lot of the purpose of that is to educate them about what you do, right? And to develop that, you know, relationship. You're showing your personality, you're showing information about you during that perhaps onboarding sequence. A webinar in your sales funnel does a lot of that work for you, and video is very powerful. We know that video converts people, you know, better oftentimes, whether you have it on your landing page. So I think that's why a lot of people lean towards webinars, because they are effective.
Yeah, of often, yeah.
But so, the whole purpose of it, that you're not doing a webinar to sell. You're doing the webinar so that, yes, it's part of the sales funnel, but it's to achieve know, like, and trust. They know about you. They know what you do. They're going to be a good fit. So when they get on that call with you, you're not investing a bunch of time in people that you're going, oh, when can I be done? Because they're just not a good fit.
Exactly. And a lot of times the content I put in my webinar was conversations I was having with people on the call. So in theory, if they watch this, they have already warmed up to this concept. I can put it in context of their situation better. They're already caught up, you know, a little bit. I mean, I actually use a similar piece in practice. Like if I'm going over labs with someone, I make them watch a recording of me going over generic labs first. So by the time we get to the meeting together, they're going to get a lot more out of it, right? Essentially. And I have to describe less. So it's almost similar. So like, the webinar is a longer form of really getting to know someone. It's like you said, video, people like, you know, and I mean, my head and my face isn't in there the whole time at all. And some people never put their head and face in there. And we can talk about the component, like, so these are pieces of a funnel, but then there's lots of pieces of a landing page. And my point is also like Megan said, not everyone's going to come. You have to recruit lots of people to your website in order to work with a few people, right? So you have to kind of increase that overall traffic. And then this is the middle bridge piece. What I was wanting to say a little bit earlier, and I'm going to use a story to drive it home, is in college, I was an intern at a food company, and you learn a lot on the back end of a food company. And one thing that they did to be intelligent was if they created a product, it had to go to true service units, meaning this company was well known for food trucks that drove around and delivered frozen foods. They had a consumer, like they had food in stores. So they had like pies and other things, like retail. And then they had school food service. And so if they created one thing, for example, like the Freshetta pizza that's in the grocery store is actually they tweak it with like more proteins to meet school requirements. And then they serve pizza in school. It's not called Freshetta, but that's truly what's happening on the back end. So my point is like, just because you create a webinar or a video or something about you, it doesn't mean it has to be plugged into a Facebook ad. Maybe it's on your health props profile. Maybe it's on just your website, right? Like I don't even have Facebook ad. Like I have some running funnels we can look at later. But I just have right now, like I've turned them off because I don't need them at the, I just don't need, I've decided I don't need them. And if I'm not monitoring them, it fits many places. So in sequence, even if you want like a video, if you
we're getting some
emails you talk, or maybe it's on your YouTube page. Like, check out this 3-minute video, or check out this other thing. It's still going to improve your overall conversion.
Got it. It looks like we have a little bit of a hang up a couple times. So I don't know if our connection's getting a little bit unstable. I'll keep an eye on it. But you froze it.
No, I can hotspot.
You froze a couple times, but I think it's kind of coming back in. So we'll be okay. Oh, where'd you go?
Oh.
Oh, there you are. Okay, so you mentioned you have a couple of working funnels. So the people find you using, you mentioned you use some Facebook advertising. And as we were kind of prepping for this, you were mentioning some of the one-time investments that you have to make of writing copy, targeting, because people find you, but you're basically using ads to help them find you. I mean, what does that initial part look like? And then this webinar, is this how do they then, you send it out over email? I noticed you kind of have a video on your homepage, kind of talk us through a little bit about that. Like, is that the webinar? Uh-oh.
Phone it.
I can't quite hear you all the time.
It's not really again. Okay. just a sec. And
our audio is hanging up for some reason.
I'm gonna change. I'm changing. I think it's almost connected.
Oh, okay.
And then I have
Okay.
I think it's working. I hope it is.
Yeah, I can hear you a little bit now.
I don't want to hang us. Up, of course. So 2 pieces. It's just if we have if it lags again.
Yeah, it's getting a little laggy. I find that
I wasn't.
Okay. Sorry, just 1 minute. Crystal will jump back on so we can go ahead and continue sharing her screen. All right, there she is.
Sorry, this is what I love about Zoom is that it auto restarts for you, even if you hang up.
Isn't that nice? All right, that's really much better. Okay. Sounds lovely.
Cool, great. So I hope you can see this okay.
Yep.
What I wanted to differentiate first is, I know this sounds lame because you have to go make this, but the pieces of the webinar are separate from the pieces of the ad, and then I'll jump it because I don't want to. I'll just make it confusing if I jump into what's going on Facebook and how I track some of that stuff, because the pieces of the webinar have to work first, like we were talking about here. Like, this is part of a funnel and it has multiple pieces as well. And so these have to work too. So the pieces of the webinar, and I want to also mention how I don't pay for expensive webinar software because I don't need to, and I'll give you my workaround for that. Mm-hmm. So there's a landing page, which there's so many options for landing pages, right? Mine's just part of my website automatically. So there's the landing page and the text that's on that. Does that turn a person on or off? Is there a video on that turns them on or off, right? So that's a piece you have to evaluate. The ease of the opt-in time. So part of the reason I don't use fancy webinar software anymore, there's one called, I think EverWebinar, maybe it's Webinar Jam, where you have multiple times you can choose. Do you want to choose to run it every hour? Or you guys maybe don't know this, there's this just-in-time feature where if
Evergreen, yeah. It's like, it starts in 10 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah, it just happens to start in 10 minutes.
Right.
So, and I want to tell you what I learned about the metrics of this because this is stuff I learned from people in my business community. So basically there was this, it starts in 10 minutes. Turns out that most people, at least in the people in my circle, like the people that were doing a similar thing, most people in their funnels were registering for just in time. So if it shows up in 15 minutes, I'm going to register for that one first. But more people show up to the ones that they actually schedule. So this put me in a conundrum because I had some limitations in the free webinar. I use Kajabi and we had webinar software in there. Anyway, it was just kind of what my goal was. We're good people. So what we're really trying to get from the webinar is to serve people. And at the end of the day, I want them to have the information in my webinar. And so if they can't get the information because of stupid times and replays, then I've not served my purpose, right?
So just to kind of make it clear that a webinar can be live, right? You can be coming on and doing these over and over and over again as live, or once you maybe do a few and you realize this one really worked, the live attendees, or took a lot of the actions that you wanted them to take, you have those recorded, and then you convert that to what people call as evergreen, so that people are signing up for the webinar, but you're not actively doing the live. They're being shown the recorded version for those.
Right, exactly. And so that kind of makes it like, do you want to be, and this is okay, like you can make this choice or you don't have to. Do you want to record something? Because like mine was never live. Like I just recorded it and then made sure it was like decent and then put it up there, right? You can do that too. You don't ever have to make it live. But do you want it to appear like it's live? And then even though like no one's really out there doing live for the most part you're seeing ads for, like no one really is, but it appears live. And so did people catch on to that? Did they not really like it? I just decided all I cared about was that more people showed up and watched it. I could see some like software metrics on the back end that people, because then what I chose to do was like not use webinar software, because basically you can have a landing page, people can opt in, and it can say, oh, you just meant like we're not re-recording, but here's a replay. So it's on the thank you page, and they also get it in an email.
So let's stop that. I want to make sure that that's clear because it goes really fast when you say it. So your landing page, they hit your landing page, they say, oh, absolutely, I want to learn more through this webinar. They click and they put in their email address. So now they're on your email list. When you use a landing page, there's always a confirmation once they click submit for their email address, and there's a link right there to watch the video, or you embedded it, or whatever process you used. Mm-hmm. So they also then are going to get an email that you have some kind of automation set up that says, hey, every time someone opts in on this landing page, send them this message. And then, so now you've got these metrics happening, right? So now you've got, then what happens?
Yeah. So login, etc. Like they get the video. So then what's happening is I want to make sure they're watching the video, because then they're more engaged. So this is actually kind of cool because I just literally was using, video planted on the page. Well, I could see on the back end somehow that like people were just scrubbing through and skipping ahead because it's a long webinar. It's like an hour and 15 minutes.
So they're allowed to move the video forward.
They were allowed to move the video forward. And I didn't really want that, right? For multiple reasons, because they're going to miss the point. They're just going to skip to the end and see like what's here.
Yes.
So what I did was, and this is not my idea, I got this from someone else, yay. What I did was I got a free Wistia account, which Wistia is just the video hosting software.
Like Vimeo or others. Okay.
Yep, exactly. So I got a free account there. Like I already had the video planted on the landing page, on the thank you page and the landing page. However, I chose to upload it to Wistia, turn off, like in a setting somewhere, you could turn off the ability to scrub it, meaning move it back and forth.
Right.
And then I took that video and embedded it because that was the workaround. So I know it was an extra step, but I didn't want them to scrub around. I wanted them to watch it. And at that point, and why did I know that was a problem? Because I was getting decent opt-ins, but not decent call rate, right? I can't remember if you want like 5% call rate or something like that. Maybe it's 5% conversion. I got to think about that because I have the metrics written down. It's nice to have realistic expectations instead of just like being like, oh, this isn't working. Like you have to have realistic expectations and know what those metrics are. Can't remember if it's like if you can get like 50% of people to show up to a call, like you're an awesome, amazing person, but like less than that would be pretty normal. Like 10 to 25 is not crazy, I want to say. Okay. Either way, I saw that I had that written down elsewhere. Like
so when people watched the entire thing and didn't fast forward, you noticed that they were following through and booking more calls. So what you did to basically leverage that was turn off the ability to fast forward through. If people dropped off because they weren't interested, then that's, whatever, that's going to happen. Maybe it wasn't for them, but if they finished the whole video, okay.
Right. Yep. And I mean, that was part hunch, part metrics. It was like you make your best guess based on the metrics that you have. But essentially, like it didn't hurt because if you just think about your own behavior and you're attracting people that are just like you, in theory, like I want to scrub through things and not watch them completely, right? Like, so I mean, I felt like that was kind of a little important piece, and that's really like analyzing what's going on here, usually with someone, to help you kind of realize it, right? So they're getting the webinar, and then there's 3 more emails, and I ask them to book a call. So I'm basically like sticking this in right before this. So I'm adding to the funnel, right?
Are most of these people brand new to your email list? Or are these existing subscribers that maybe do you do a newsletter? How does that work?
Yeah, I'm pretty, like, I really suck at sending emails to my list. So I really don't market it to my current list too often. It's usually going to be new people.
Okay, good.
So, and I think it takes to be perfectly honest, I think it takes a long time for people to really warm up to you and to book calls. Like, some people are really action takers. They're looking for this right now. Some people are like, I'm just going to hang out here and see what you have for free for like ever, and so that's okay. I mean, I think there's other options for them later. Right. But that's just the pieces of the webinar. Okay. Now remember, when you work for that food company, you can put this webinar in multiple places, which I talked about earlier. So if you choose to like create some kind of piece of content that helps people know, like, and trust you better than like a one-pager, because we've all looked at one-pagers and forgotten about them, which are great. They're really good. This is like the next step on like, let's really get to know each other, depending on how much of an intimate relationship you need with people to make them happy, like you. Then what did I do next?
So the 3 to 4 more emails were kind of linked to the replay, just some more information, and obviously driving them to book a call.
Exactly. Okay. Like whole nother discussion with like, how do you write emails that convert, et cetera. And I do think that those could be really improved. Like, I did utilize someone who does that for a living. I used like templates from her, but I think they could be improved in general. Like, people say selling from email works, but you got to get people to open your emails, and there's a lot of those pieces too. But it's still a piece. Like, you don't want to just send people one thing one time and expect.
But I think this is what we're trying to talk about here, that unless your sales funnel is working, and I know we're going to talk a little bit about paid Facebook ads, that you're really, unless you actually have a funnel that's working, you're not really getting a lot out of your dollar if you're going to drive people to you. If you don't have an email sequence with good copy that is getting, the few people that trickle in, you're going to spend a bunch of money to not get any results because you don't have a working sales funnel. So the first step is to get your funnel working, whether you use, an opt-in, whether you use a webinar, whatever process you're using, the pieces need to fit together, and you need to know that it works first.
Exactly. If you can't do that, please don't spend money, because it's not gonna, work. And there's a flippin' million ways to do ads. Like, what works on Facebook may not work on Instagram. Like, what you're seeing on Instagram now is like pretty engaging videos, like, that are catching my eye, like that thing that breaks the window. Like, if I'm dying under a bridge or something, it's like, oh, what is this thing? Right. I don't have like expertise in, because there's actually like, you don't have to always think like the grass is greener on the other side. There's actually plenty of people on Facebook that would want to be your customer technically. So my version, I'm going to tell you my version, and then I'm going to explain a simplified version as well. Then we can go into my ad account and just look at it.
Okay.
Because I'm only changing one thing at a time, and that was something I was taught. Now, I do have like multiple courses on Facebook ads I've never opened. I learned this from like a one-on-one person, right? So my version is, because I'm looking for like a deeper relationship, it's a long form sales ad. So, like, you could have short form that's like this long, and then maybe go, like, people who read that aren't the same people that are going to read this, right? Okay. So like, people who are going to open and read the long form sales ad, they're already more interested. So you're already like bypassing the people that are just like scroll.
Oh, that's a
like,
free something click. Right.
Right. Because I don't care about clicks. I care about conversions.
Got it.
And so that's all that really matters. Like, great, look at it. Like, I don't make money out of you looking at it. And actually, like, in different types of ads and Google AdWords, they charge you for everyone that looks at it, but that's a totally different topic. With Facebook ads, you're just trying to immediately like weed people out and only get the people that are interested in like developing a relationship. And so when I write a long form sales ad, we can go look at one. I think it's easiest to tell a story. So like, because, by the way, like, there's a bunch of nuances that are kind of annoying. Facebook doesn't want you writing about health per se. So this complicates things a little bit for our field. So they don't really want you writing about health, and they don't want you like saying you can do a bunch of things. And like, you can't say like, I can do this for you. I think like, you can't make promises that you can't deliver, like, that Facebook thinks you might not be able to deliver on. So if you get it denied, like, here's some things. And I think they don't like it first person either. So I'll write it like a story. So the last 2 ads I wrote was like, I have a client. I thought of this Crohn's client I had who she only came to me because her daughters like found me on Health Profs because they were searching for, because they thought their mom deserved better. So I gave her a fake name, Karen, and I said, my kids really wanted me to feel better, blah, 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 blah. So like I started like that because when someone's scrolling, they might just see, they're only going to see this much and they're going to expand it. So if it pulls on there, like if it appeals to them, my kids really wanted me to take better care of myself, Karen said, in a blah, 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 blah. So I'm really just telling a story. And then at first,
but those are important because those are like the pain points. You have to know, right, what's going to catch your target audience. But that's a whole nother.
Exactly. And honestly, like a big mistake is thinking you know your audience without actually considering like real people out of it. Like, so, I mean, if you're just getting started, just start working with people like in some way, like bribe people you know, because if you don't do that, you're never going to understand what their pain points are. And it's going to be different than what you think it is because you're too close to the topic. Like you don't understand it as well as the person on the other side unless you went through that problem yourself. And if you did, you might be able to write an ad like my other guy who I'm trying to remember. Oh yeah, it was like, Mom, and I actually didn't come up with this initial thing either. You know, it's kind of like you're sitting at a blank screen, like, what should I write? And it was like, Mom, I'm itchy, which every parent is like, oh, my child with eczema, like, they're itching all night and whatever. So short story, convert into like, here's why what you're doing now doesn't work. Here's how this could work better. And you can learn about it in this webinar, essentially, right? So that's a piece, you know, is like a long form ad copy. You know, not everyone's like that, but this is one piece. Cause like when you get back there, it's like Facebook wants to like make you spend money. So they're like, do all these things. And you know what? The other thing is, don't even, if you wanted to consider doing this, one, I mean, it's good if you can get someone to help you with it. But two, like, you don't even want to go into Facebook necessarily. You just want to like create this. Cause you could, in theory, utilize even this piece somewhere else if you wanted to, kind of, right? You could use this copy on your landing page, really, right?
Yep.
So I have a long form ad copy that tells that story. It's going to convert different people in a short form. I'm looking for conversions. They go to, all that happens, if I'm thinking of this right, is they just go to my landing page from there, right? So like there is a photo, you have to have an appealing photo, right? And then you have to have the right audience.
And not much text on that photo, darn it.
You can't put, yeah, they actually have so there's a lot of nuances. There's actually like a Facebook photo tool and like you upload it first because otherwise you'll just get kicked all back, and it has to be like less than 10%. Yep. It's kind of annoying. So, and then it's the audience. So in my world, now there's a shorter version too that I think could work. I don't know if I should explain that I think works for people. If they're like, I'm going to show you my version, but I don't really have a lot of these. I have friends and colleagues where this works, where they truly just are like they read a really high quality blog post that resonates with their audience. They boost it from their page, which I'm not saying like is awesome. It's just kind of roulette because back in the day, you couldn't really specify your audiences. So it was just like, good luck. And it could be, you know, you're not going to get a great ROI, but then you can have an opt-in on the bottom of that, right? So that's a possibility of them just getting to know you if you wanted to be ultra, ultra simple, right? But this is my version and I'm going to go over it with you. So I'm in Business Manager.
Okay.
And here's my ads account. And I haven't been in here for a while. So like numbers are down. I turned everything off a couple weeks ago because I was full to the point where I was like, I can't take any calls right now. So I don't want to spend money. Because I have spent some money on it. And then, so while this is opening, I'm going to show you some things that I look at over here. So I already said, like, I have a photo. I don't think this is the right one. I have a photo. This might not be the right one. And it's okay if it's not. It's totally fine. Yep, I'll show you. Okay, cool.
I don't know if we can.
One moment. All right, I'm going to stop that for a second while this is opening.
Okay.
Just waiting for this to open. Facebook ads are kind of slow.
Very slow.
I would say also like using them on your phone would be not very user friendly.
No.
Okay. So like this is all crap I did like back in the day when I didn't know what I was doing. Like all of this is stuff I didn't know what I was doing like the last 2 years, like 2017, 2016, way back when. Really nothing important from there to see. All I've done now, there's like multiple levels of ads. So like there's the campaign level.
Right.
So like I just pick a topic. So one of my niches, IBS or skin, right? And then I have like the sets underneath that and then the ads. So I think this is where it can be a little confusing. So
yes, I have there's a video with Lisa McClure where we kind of went over a little bit of what's a campaign, what's a, ad set. And
cool, good.
A little bit.
I won't,
cool. But we do want to tackle it for sure.
Yeah. So I just want to say like, there's the campaign level. And so this is where it gets confusing because you start things at the campaign level. And then basically at the ad set level, I change the audience. And at the ad level. So this is what you can think from bottom up or top down. So let's start at bottom up.
Because at the campaign, you have to pick a few things like, what are you trying to do? What's the purpose of this whole thing? Are you trying to do brand awareness? Are you trying to, what is your objective here?
Right. Yeah. And it's a little fuzzy on like what Facebook does with that information, but like I'm looking truly for a conversion, meaning I'm looking for a registration to a Facebook page. Beyond that, I don't care what Facebook triggers those things. And by the way, sorry, there's a few more details. And actually in order to like even track a conversion, you have to like install your Facebook pixel on your thank you page because they have to know that you got from this page to this page. And so there is some back end setting up stuff that like is really belongs in a Facebook course. I mean, you're not going to like leave here and go make like $1 million Facebook ad.
No, and I think this would be more of kind of that overview. And then, if you want to go out and learn some more about, Facebook ads, you can't learn it in this little time frame.
Right. Yeah. And again, the goal is to help people understand kind of the big picture and how, if you were just kind of curious, you could do this other thing too. So, I've already created long form ad copy and my photo. Okay. So that's where right here, that's the ad, basic ad, right? So each ad is exactly the same. The only difference is the photo. So I had 3 photos. I had like a table of food with a picture, which converted the worst. And I think the dog, and like sometimes dogs convert really awesome on Facebook. And so like just a photo about someone not doing anything with the dog, I want to say like this one converted like second best. And actually the person holding their stomach did the best in this particular one. Now, I think actually it's a little bit more interesting. I'm going to open this because I think it's a little bit more interesting, the one for the skin one. Not that you guys probably totally care, but so that's all I'm changing at the ad set level. It's like it's the exact same ad, then I duplicate it and I only change the photo, right? And then so that's the ad set level. So I have like 2 ads. So I have like dog on a toilet picture and person holding their stomach picture, exact same copy, just seeing which ad works better, right? So I'm measuring one thing at a time, right? And then I was just going to show you like that this photo converted it's like a little picture of a girl blowing bubbles, converted better than this little boy on the beach, and there's really no eczema on there because Facebook also doesn't want you like, they're not okay with like, they don't want to look at something, like you don't want to look at something that might be offensive, like they're not going to approve that basically. So you have to just kind of have this like benign photo essentially, like, but still attracts people.
Okay.
So just at the ad set level, this one's really basic. I'm hoping this will be fair. So it's just the same ad, different photo. So you're tracking that. And then at the ad set level, all I'm doing is changing audiences. So I'm seeing which audience works better. Okay.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit that whole audience piece, because I think that's a part that getting, there's a lot to that.
Yeah, there is. And it's not simple. So like you have to test it basically. So these red ones are the ones I didn't like for this, like Target, Aiden and Annie. It's like what worked better. And so here's where I save all this stuff. Because if you don't have this, you really don't know what you did. Like if I'm in here, I wouldn't say like, oh, I remember what happened. Like I have a spreadsheet over here that says like, because you can go search for audiences and we can look at that. You do it in back here. I don't know if we really want to do that, but like you basically go to add like audience insights and you search for things because things you would like to target are not available.
Right.
Like the most specific awesome things we'd love to target aren't really available, and you can't target Facebook groups and things yet. So you can only target audiences. So I'm looking for
tell us, kids under 5. A little bit about, okay, so you have kids under 5 if it's the eczema one.
Yep. So like I'm looking for kids under 5 typically. So I'm looking at like kids with food allergies, the Honest Company, which is like natural products, Target Baby, Aiden and Annie.
I saw that you had Aiden and Annie. Yep.
Parents with preschoolers, and this is cool. Like I don't know how Facebook knows this, but they do kind of work. Like kids under 1 was an option. I noticed. This is a total side note, but like I noticed when I had certain audiences turned on, I was starting to get like a lot of comments on my ad about like, just put black cumin oil on your skin and whatnot, because it was attracting like certain types of people.
Got it.
So if you just, if you change a few things at a time, you kind of see that.
But I like the point that you're making about using a spreadsheet to really be a little bit methodical and look at what you've been doing and what has or hasn't been working.
Yeah, you have to, so I keep track of like the size, which for some reason I don't have these here because I'm lazy. But my point is that like I forgot to grab it when I was picking out audiences. Because first it's like audience research. I'm gonna go look at audiences, type in and be like, okay, I'm gonna try all these ones. But I just try like a couple at a time, right? And then eventually I change it and change and do them later, because you don't want an audience that's like tiny. You're not gonna
Right.
you're not gonna do very well. Like you need a really big on the top side, because you just need a couple people down at the bottom. So I pick out the audience size. Did I test it already? Yep, I already tested it. And so I have basically it set up on the back end of like, how much did it cost me to get a webinar registration? So this is what I care about, right? Like how much I have to spend on getting someone to convert to my webinar. And then all those people from the webinar, how many are going to book a call? So it costs me like a lot more money for them to book a call, because like a lot more people are going to register for a webinar than they are going to book a call. Now, granted, like it cost me about $3 to $5 to get someone on my email list. I better be working that email list later on. You know what I mean? It's not like a loss because I have them on my email list, which is why you wouldn't show someone a webinar without putting them on your email list, because at least you can go use that sometime, right? And in theory, if you have a specialty and you marketed specifically to your specialty, at least these people that are on your list are way better than like all the dietitians that are on my list, who I may or may not serve, depending on if their child has eczema, right? But if they're just, you know what I mean?
So is Facebook ads, here's, we kind of went back to your steps in the funnel, that you need to get people to find you. Is that the primary way that you're bringing in people find you? Or are you also doing like blogging with SEO work? You have your health profs. What would you say is kind of maybe rough percentages of how people are finding you?
Yeah, I wish I could open that spreadsheet, but it would tell you too much about my business because of a spreadsheet. But I just say, actually, and this is something to keep track of, like who are your clients in a spreadsheet, like where did they come from? Because on my form that they fill out when they book a call, it's like, how did you find me? And so I keep track of that, because eventually I would lose track, right? And so I'll write if they're a Facebook ad and just a little about them, so I can go back and remember. Because then if I want to look at a month at a time in that spreadsheet, and that's like the one spreadsheet I use more than anything else, is that, because it helps me kind of understand, gives me a finger on my pulse of my business, like where do people come from? So to answer your question, I wish I had looked this up before, but I would say I know my business is a third healthcare professionals ish, and like my current client roster typically. And I know my favorite clients come from referrals. So Facebook can be fine. It can be fine. I've gotten some great clients from Facebook, and I've also gotten some that I didn't like. And this is where like there's a lot of little refining. And then I've also gotten some that are just looking for something for free. And because I charge kind of for my call, I automatically eliminate some people that might be a really bad fit. And I know that is a bit of a complaint that some people have. If you have a free call, then you might be attracting a lot of people that you don't want to talk to. Because at the end of the day, I am looking to have a profit and have a business.
Right.
Because that's necessary. And I mean, just what people value, like, do you value investing? Right. So yeah, do I have a ton of, like, I have like a small number of people from Facebook right now, probably. So it's like, the point of it is if something is slow, you can like bolster it with this. Right. So, or you can have like, you can decide like, hey, this quarter I'm going to focus on this and do it on purpose. You don't have to reinvent the wheel all the time. Like I could literally like turn on something that used to work and use it again. In the future, I might consider just I'm not really doing SEO blog often. Like I really am not creating content except for my podcast regularly.
Right. But but I mean, that's one way people would find you, right? They would find you through your podcast.
People find me that way for sure. So because they've developed know, like, and trust.
Exactly. And you mentioned health profs. That's also, obviously another way that people will find you.
So people come from different places, and I personally know my favorite clients are referrals. Because if someone says you need to work with Christa because of XYZ, like those people are just more ready. Like you're like, yeah, I know I want to work with you because this person spoke highly of you and I respect that person. So I mean, I leverage my current clients. And so that's just currently where I'm at. But every year, I think your business can change depending on what you can handle. And so like maybe 3 months ago, I would have said, yeah, like maybe a third of my clients are from Facebook, and maybe they still are. I don't remember right now. It just depends. Like I think depending on your business overall, like I know people that maybe have 100% of their business from Facebook, but as you can see, there's a lot of pieces here. And at the end of the day, like we're also trying to be professionals doing our job, right? So we have to kind of pick and choose what we want to do. The key part is can you get people from start to finish without all the complication stuff in between? If you were doing that well and you need to increase more of the end goal, then what can you put in to increase the top? Like, how do I help people find me more? That's all Facebook is. How do I help people find me more? That's what Google AdWords is. That's what, and that's a paid thing. The other thing you can do is guest on someone's XYZ thing. I mean, there's a lot of ways you can do it.
Mm-hmm.
Some ways are better than other.
I think it's a good point that you mentioned that you do your podcast, and I think it's important that you put that in as a way that people find you. And that's the whole idea of, I run a Facebook ad, and I'm going to have a bunch of new clients only if you have a sales funnel that is set up to help those people know, like, trust, make the decision, right? And you're still good on your discovery call, and you have to do the selling piece. So there's a lot of pieces of the puzzle. So whether or not you're paying for those people to find you, you can test that out with, your Instagram clickable link, like mentioning in your post to go to send them to your landing page, right? And see how it's working.
Right. Yeah, like trial it first for free, like just post it on your Facebook page or Instagram for free, send it to your email list for free, because if it's not working there, then maybe it's not going to work in other places. So don't go put money on it. So you're really right. And the other piece of this is, I guess one advantage to Facebook, we can see how complicated it can be for sure. But one advantage is that I can be ultra specific about who I'm looking for, because I'm only talking to an eczema parent. So this is a problem. If you're not very niched, this is, everyone says niche down. So if you're not very niched, this isn't going to be very useful, because you're going to get a really plethora, all kinds of random stuff, right? So this has been a nice way to build my email list with actual people that are relevant to my business. Because before I was niched, I had people from all walks of life, right? Right. And so that's kind of a good thing. Even though I'm not using it right now, I'm still going to work it later, when I make time to write emails.
When you need more clients, you'll go ahead and do that. So as always, we run out of time, but I wanted to give you a chance to talk about any other big key points, and specifically kind of those mistakes. And we didn't really touch on kind of that webinar, the logistics of your webinar, but as we kind of wrap up, anything that's very burning from your side?
I don't know that I have. I think the big pieces are you can use a webinar or something that does this in more than one place, right?
You can do a free you say a free ebook. That's kind of a general just your general opt-in, right? That really get people to kind of find you and know about you, right?
Yeah, and if you're, if possible, put a video on your thank you page, because people are gonna get to otherwise you just kind of get lost in the mix, right? Okay. It's a lot of pieces. At the end of the day, you have to know, is this for you, by knowing what is your objective, right? And so if you don't really know your objectives, right, and you're just getting started, then just take those pieces from this, learn how to make the first little part work, I guess, and take some notes, at least take mental notes about what do I like about certain people and others, and how do I get more of them? What age group do I like to work with? Because that's really in the end goal. Even if you come into this later, having mental notes of that stuff or physical notes is going to help you as well, I think.
So what resources you mentioned, one-on-one, what would you say are kind of your top picks for, someone says, yeah, I really want to start fleshing out a better sales funnel. What would you say are your resources?
To be honest, Megan, I was like all the people that are squirrely looking around for different things. And when I got to the proper point in my business where I had a system that kind of worked and I just needed to make it a lot better, that I could get results for people. Because I think in general, let's just go back, because we're dietitians, I think. So if you can get great results for people, then great, help more people, essentially. And so that's kind of where our point was. I had started my business, and I was happy with what we were doing, but I knew to make, happy life, everything else needed to fit together. And at that point I started working with a business coach, because before that I'd been taking all kinds of random stuff. And at that point, just having a person to bounce off stuff was really helpful, I guess. So honestly, I've just left a lot of stuff behind, besides that. I don't really pay attention. I don't go learn about Facebook ads from anyone else or anything. I never opened my courses. I don't know if that's what you want to hear.
Yeah.
But I do think that when you get to a certain point, find someone that's the right person to help you and to make you grow for the types of goals that you want. Right.
Right. That's actually,
So,
I think you
fast.
you made a point about the help writing the copy, copywriting on your landing page, 3 to 4 emails. And I always struggle with buying another course to do it better yourself, or is it better to just hire someone who could write the copy for you?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, and I can tell you about that actually,
Yeah.
because it's pretty inexpensive, because like my current business coach, like didn't really give great resources for copy. And to be perfectly honest, I have a degree in writing. Not that I write really well, I've decided, because for a while I was like, yeah, my goals are in life is to make money from writing and see people. And then I realized like I couldn't write fast enough to do that. So I've dropped that desire. But, through Anna Reisdorf, who runs the RDs That Write, who can be a great resource, her writing coach, when Anna was getting started, I was paying close attention because that was my goal at that time. And so I really value all these dietitian groups, by the way, which is why I wanted to be here, because I've gotten a lot out of them over the years. They're niched, so like the information is more relevant for us.
Yes.
So early on in Anna's career, she was promoting a course from her own business coach, and her writing coach, who I utilized as a writing coach for a while. Her name is Abby Parrots. She's fantastic, and I love her. And we had some one-on-one time together, and I did take a workshop from her, which I can take a workshop. I don't need like a long thing, because I'm at this point, I'm like, I don't learn a bunch more stuff, just in time versus just in case learning, right?
Right.
So I had a workshop with Abby, and she kind of gave out a template, but she charges about $2,000. She's good at it, so she can do this. She charges at least $2,000 to write sales funnels for like certain businesses. So for like, I want to say online courses, and she converts really well. So, I mean, I trust her because she's already, that works, and I was pretty much looking for the template, and it was a couple $100, and that was a great buy, I thought. So that was a good resource.
Yeah, I think that's really good.
Copywriting.
Copywriting.
Finding pages that you like and saving them. So like I utilize the crap out of Evernote, and it's got a web clipper, like an extension for Chrome. So I used to like scrape a website page when I was like, this is a great landing page. I'd like go pull it up and I'd scrape it, so that way I could refer back to it. I just haven't written a landing page in a while, but I used to. Like when you're first developing stuff, you're really doing it a lot. So if you find things that you like, then use those, because that's going to help you a lot. It's just like a template, like you can go buy a template, or you can look at people's stuff you like and use that as a template. You don't have to copy it directly, but you can get a vibe, you can get a feel for it. So yeah, the Evernote web clipper.
There's no, when somebody used the term, studying what works well, breaking it down into pieces, and then, recreating it, whether you want to call that R&D, research and development, or R&D, rob and duplicate. It's kind of all the same thing, right? That you're
success leaves clues.
Yeah. So to look at what you like and ask yourself, why do I like that? Why did it catch my eye at the beginning? What could I use there? What was that storytelling? Oh, how could I use a story? The bullet points, how that's all structured and put together. I think it's a really good point. This is really helpful. How can people find out more if they want to check out your website, check out your podcast? How can they connect with you and send clients your way if they have ones that are good fits?
Yeah, please. So I have a couple things. So I would love if you listen to the podcast. I find that there's a lot of dietitians and health professionals. So I get people on that I like. And so I tend to find that like dietitians like the podcast. So I would love if you listen, because it's our goal this year to really grow the podcast. It's called The Less Stressed Life. You can find that on your favorite podcast app, essentially. So, or lessstressedlife.com if you want to listen to it on desktop, but hopefully you'll go download it and subscribe. My website is either Less Stress Nutrition or ChristaBiegler.com, goes to the same place. I would say you had asked me one other thing before that, and I just lost my train of thought. I apologize. I wanted to tell you something. Do you remember? I know you said, how do people find you? You said something else. I don't remember. Think of it.
Clients coming to you.
Oh, yeah. Actually, that's what it was. I said my favorite clients are referrals. So I have a referral program. It's not like obvious on my website or anything like that. But if you want to be a professional referral, I can I can send you the little kit for it, and I pay my referrals, right? So like and I'm decent at this. So like if they're a great fit and we like each other and they've watched the webinar and they book a call, like there's a good chance that I might be paying you money to send me a client. And like, I love doing that for people. Like
Fabulous.
I love supporting other people. So if you're interested in being an actual referral, like on my referral page thing, because it's a separate landing page, it's hidden, that you just need a link, just let me know and I'll add you to that list and I'll send you the kit. I would love to I would love to like pay you for someone that maybe isn't a good fit for you because you're a different niche. So that's really cool if you want that.
That's a fabulous thing that you do. Actually, one of the things that really stood out for me during our talk today was I knew your podcast, The Less Stressed Life and things, but that people who are finding you the term, inflammatory and all these things don't work for them, that you used lingo that connects. And I think that's really valuable, that we have to, if people are going to find you based on, the pain points and the words that you're using, and you were using words that weren't really connecting. So for me, I don't know, sometimes little light bulbs go on during that, made that connection for me.
I don't know if I should even say this, but like I was telling a friend the other day, she said that she was having less calls since she updated her website in the fall. And I said, I think it's because you're talking so much about gut health and not the condition, that you're getting people that are only like DIYing and already know that this is a gut health condition. Like, damn straight, I correct the gut when people have eczema. But if I said I fix your it's a lot easier. Like, it's a lot more clear if it's like, I help you with eczema. Like people, otherwise you're getting people at different stages.
Got it.
If you describe what the answer is already, part of it.
Oh, yeah, that's actually really interesting. So thank you so much for being on today and kind of walking us through how you put together the pieces of the sales funnel. Really, one, making sure that you have something that's working before Facebook ads they don't create a funnel, and they certainly don't fix one. So mapping it out and just trying. I think we have this idea that, I can't ever get there because I don't really know what. At least, get started thinking about how people are going to find you. Pick a way. Like, you have a podcast, you have a referral program, you have Facebook ads that you might use. How are you going to have people find you? You're going to blog and you're going to do kick butt SEO, whatever your plan is, be good at that. You're going to do Facebook lives. It doesn't matter. Do it and do it consistently. And then using, you use the webinar to know, like, and trust, whether you're going to use an email sequence. How are you going to help people get to that know, like, and trust, and then getting them on the call, or whether you're selling a course or something else, walking through how's that going to happen and what's your end goal. We had Orly Wachter on here a while back, and she really gave some good advice that starting at the end, what is it that you want them to do? And then you're working backwards from there. I think sometimes we start with the beginning. Well, I need all these people. So yes, you need all these people, but what do you want them to do at the end? Then you can put the puzzle pieces together to say, okay, from here, to the action.
Be good at your job first, and don't be stressed in that first, and then worry about like getting more people, right? Like, or depending on what you're trying to do, I guess. So there's so many options. And I think the other like key takeaway is like, you have to be realistic, like get help when you need it. I think the thing that helped me grow quickly was when I got the right help when I needed it. Because otherwise I would say like all the time before that, like, there's a lot of like paddle, like you're working your butt off. Right. So
that's me, like right now, right. I'm kind of flailing and flopping, and I finally figured out enough to know that like I need help, right? I need,
we all
need help. And then it's not because you're incompetent. It's not because you're not passionate. It's that this is hard, and there's so much vying for your time and attention. And I think of it with my own kids and homework. It's not that my kid is lazy, but he needs some supervision during homework time, right? Or otherwise, if he wants to get good at soccer, he needs a coach. If I just set him out in the backyard and gave him a soccer ball and said, go play, he's not going to get good at soccer. That coaching, there is something to be said for, if your kid plays on a team and they have a professional coach or a parent coach, you're going to get different results. So hanging out in a Facebook group versus having a professional coach are two very different results that you're going to see. And not one is better than the other. But think about, what do I need right now? And so, my son plays club soccer. So he, what are your decisions in your business and in life too, right? But he gets his mom for homework.
You're exactly right. I love the analogy. You're exactly right. It's like the shortcut to like getting better, faster.
Yeah, and it doesn't
mean a real shortcut.
Yeah. So I think that's awesome. Thank you so much again, Christa. I took a lot of your time, and I appreciate it. And your kids were wonderful to let us have all this, although you have no school today. On their unicycles.
Yeah, other unicycles, most likely. Yeah.
That is
So hopefully we'll
awesome.
go sledding now.
Yes, go sledding. Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
snow. All right. Well,
Okay.
everyone, thanks for tuning in. And I am struggling on the question area. So if anything, we'll come back, we'll tag, and I hope it was useful for you all.
Sounds good. Thanks so much.
All
Talk to you
right.
later.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye.